and welcome to yet another episode of the 3P Gamecast. How's everybody doing today? Yes,
Good.
woohoo, Steven. I'm, of course, the Texas gentleman, Tanner Pruitt, and right along with me here, obviously, is the rest of the 3P gang. To my left here, the one, the only Mr. Steven Grudy, and to my right, our good buddy, Mike Charlip. Mike, how are y'all doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Sweet.
Yeah, not bad. Doing good.
Excited to get back in the saddle here. We, missed a week, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But, family stuff. So,
Yeah.
we're back.
We're back. We're recording. We've got a lot of good stuff for you here today, guys. So let's get right into it. Steven, you had shown me just now a video of the PS5 UI first impressions, I guess we just want to give our first impressions of what we thought about that.
Yeah. You want to go first, Mike, or I can go first?
You can go first.
Yeah. So first impressions, it looks really clean, really clean. It seems like it took a lot of the things from PS4 that worked really well, and kind of expanded on that. The one thing that did confuse me at first, though, was they have this new kind of like sub menu, I guess, that they call the control center. And so now when you press the PlayStation button when you're in game, it doesn't take you immediately to the home screen. It takes you to what they call the control center. And so this control center has a lot of different features in it. Obviously, you can play like music while you're gaming. You can share your screen with buddies while you're gaming. They showed what do they call it? PlayStation Help. I think Game Help is what they called it. So that's a thing that developers can go in and basically add like video tutorials on how to complete certain parts of the game or find certain things, certain collectibles in the game. So that part seems really cool to me. They also mentioned that all of the things in Game Help will avoid spoilers, which is really cool because that's one of the main things is like looking up a walkthrough or a tutorial in a game on YouTube or Google or whatever. You're kind of always running the risk that you might spoil something for you. So the fact that these avoid spoilers is actually really cool. They also showed off the card system, I guess is what they're calling it. They have these like activity cards where they're like linked to certain points in the game, whether it's like challenges or levels that you've started but haven't completed, and you can kind of jump in between those different activities. I'm curious what that looks like actually in practice, because they showed us a few examples of what it can do. In my opinion, the card system in there looked a little bit cluttered, and it might get a little confusing if you have like multiple games going on or something like that. But I mean, just based on first impressions, I like it. Looks good. It looks clean. It looks fast. And it seems to have a lot of features, so we'll see.
It seems to me, especially like with the card system and the like all that kind of stuff, it seems to me that they're trying to cater more to like the completionist audience, or like people who like to 100% games or get all the trophies or whatever it is. And that's fine, because there is an audience for that. Like there are people out there that won't stop playing a game until they 100% it.
Right.
Which can be difficult with certain games. So
absolutely, and I sometimes do that depending on the game. Like sometimes I'll want 100% it, and this could be really good for that. I just kind of hope that there's an option to turn them off. If I don't really need it for that game necessarily.
Well, and that's what I was just about to bring up, is that when you were showing it to me, it looked like a lot of stuff that maybe I, as a casual gamer, would not necessarily be super interested in, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I mean they're certainly giving the option. I hope that it is an option, though. I hope that's not something that is like forced upon you necessarily.
Right.
But
yeah, I'm sure there's going to be like a setting where you don't have to use this. Like, I mean, PlayStation's usually pretty good with that kind of stuff. I mean, like they're not like oh, you have to use this. Like, usually they are good about that kind of stuff and give you the option to like I don't want to do that. So either they either give you the option to turn it off or just ignore it, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, there's certainly like different things about it, or different examples that I can think of really cool things that they could do. Like for example, with like FIFA, they could have some kind of activity where it sets up a really cool rivalry game for whatever team you have selected on FIFA, and if you want to just jump in there and play a quick game, that's cool. I don't know. It seems kind of weird, but also at the same time, I haven't used it. I've only seen one guy use it, and one game had an example. So
yeah, I think also like that's the thing. We got to see more of it because they only showed us, Sackboy's Adventure, Little Big Planet, whatever. So we need to see more of that and like how that affiliates to like other games and like because like Little Big Planet is a pretty straightforward platformer.
Yeah.
3D platformer, and this is what you do, and there's not a lot going on there. It's not that complex compared to other games. So
right, I feel like there's certainly other games out there that could probably utilize this system a little bit better. But we'll just have to see.
Are there any developments with it that you feel as though are on the PS5 and this kind of startup screen with everything that maybe weren't available on PS4 that are now super useful?
I mean, yeah, one of the cards in particular just has like a list of all your friends that are playing and that are currently in a party, and you can just click that and join the party immediately, as opposed to having to exit out of the game, go to the party system, invite your friends, or have them send you an invite. It's already there, so that's a lot faster for sure. And like, I don't want to be too hard on it. I haven't used it. There's certainly cool features about it. I just want to see more.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, fair.
I'd say it's a little too early to like have a full opinion, but like for the most part, they're trying something different, but also like integrating stuff that they've done forever.
Right. And the control center aside, I think the main menu looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Another just shifting real quick to another little piece of news here. We did get confirmation this week and the end of last week that Spider-Man Miles Morales, Cyberpunk 2077, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla have all gone gold, which is great to hear. Means for better or worse, they are coming out this year, and we will not see another delay for any of those three games. So, should be good. Should be good. I mean, it's good news. The only one that I'm worried about is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because Ubisoft has a knack for releasing broken games and then patching them either day 1 or day 5, 6, 7, or whatever it is. So that's the only one that I'm worried about, personally.
That's Avengers to a T.
Exactly. Was that an Ubisoft game?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had no idea. But exactly. So you can attest to that. Ubisoft does that all the time, and I think this Assassin's Creed Valhalla is one of the games that I'm most excited about. So I really hope that this is good news and only good news, and it's not like shrouding bad news, so to speak.
Well, and I'm particularly excited for Cyberpunk as well. I've heard a lot of good things, and yeah, it just seems like a game that I feel like I would be pretty excited for personally.
Oh yeah, man. The hype is real. The hype is real for Cyberpunk. You can't go into any corner of the internet that has to do with gaming and not see something about Cyberpunk.
Don't kill me. Avengers is Square Enix.
Square Enix. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Same. It's almost the same thing.
Honestly. Yeah.
It's the same concept. They do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Did y'all see the new Cyberpunk video that they put out? They showed the cars and stuff.
I actually haven't.
Oh, okay.
I haven't been paying too much to that because, as you know, I'm not big on first-person games. So I've been keeping an eye on it. Honestly, I've kind of just been messing with my one friend who's like super excited about the game, and me wanting it to fail just because he is excited about
it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the hype is real for it. I definitely want to play it, but I feel like the hype is maybe a little inflated for it. I mean, it's going to be a good game for sure, but I don't think it's going to be like this second coming, like greatest in a generation game that everyone's hoping it would be.
The big thing that everybody's talking about with that game is the overabundance of customization. Like that's the thing that, like, you know, you can like literally form every body part,
right?
And you know, every part of your appearance, and like literally everything.
Yeah, which I'm one of those people that, like, I will go all the way into whatever like character creation system you've got. So I mean, I feel like it's going to take me like 6 hours to make my character on Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it's that's the thing that they're. I mean, also, like, obviously it's going to be very story oriented, but like for me, the gameplay is the thing that matters to me the most.
Right.
And it's just like the concept of first person games, and like the lack of, because it's the same thing with most first person games, even if they're story oriented, there's a lack of interest for me because there's not a lot to do. You're in first person, you're walking, you're jumping, and you're shooting, and that's it.
It's about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can certainly understand that. I'm expecting it to be good, maybe even great, but I don't know. I feel like everyone's like putting it up on this pedestal, you know?
I'm sure it's going to be one of those games that gets all the ratings, and is like wins every single award at the Game Awards just because it's going to be that game.
Well, it's just because it finally came out. It was delayed for like 90 million years, and then it finally came out. But here we go. So just switching over to some more quick news. We had some PlayStation Store updates as well as some trophy changes. Sony did roll out firmware update 8.0 onto PS4. Gave some slight stability updates to the store. Also added some like PS5 specific like warnings and things like that to certain games. Talking about like backwards compatibility with PS5. PS5 is actually referenced on the PS4 now for the first time, and that hasn't been happening. And then they also changed the trophies a tiny bit. So they made platinum trophies almost double, worth almost double than what they were. So they're going to give you a bigger boost in your level. But one thing that they changed, which I thought is very strange in my opinion, is they changed your trophy levels from 1 to 99 to 1 to 999. And I can kind of see what they're going for if they're trying to give like a little bit like a bigger gap between the really casual players and then the really really hardcore players that like to 100% all of their games and everything. But like I was level like 14 or 15 before this happened. Now I'm like 297, and it's just like, it's a little weird. It's a little jarring. What do y'all think?
It was a little odd for me because like I heard about it and everybody was posting about it, and I guess the update didn't go through for me right away. And then when it did, I looked at it. I was like, okay, everything looks exactly the same, except I went from level 18 to level 306.
Right.
Like, because I guess based on the number of platinums and the number of silvers and golds that you have. Because I think I have like 13 platinums, but some of those are not really good. Like. Yeah, but some of those are not like hard to get. Like Legends of WrestleMania was like probably the easiest platinum I ever did because all you had to do was finish the story mode.
See, the good thing though is that platinum is worth the same as a Witcher 3 platinum, you know?
Yeah.
But
I mean, because if you really look at like I was looking at my platinums the other day, and like based on like what I have, like I think I got like 1 platinum from one of the Uncharted, 1 platinum from one of the Arkham games, but like all my other platinums are like the first 3 Sly Cooper games, or like
I got you.
Legends of WrestleMania. But Like some of those are like super easy to get, so it doesn't feel like it's on the same level as like, because there could be somebody who has like 2 platinum trophies that is in the 200s.
Right. No, I hear you.
Steven's video is...
Yeah, Steven is frozen. Let's give me just 1 second.
Oh, am I?
Alrighty, we got Steven back, so that's good.
Hello.
Hi, Steven.
Yeah, he's back.
He's back.
He has returned.
He has returned.
Yeah, so just continuing where we left off, Tanner, where do you come down on trophies? Do you ever really do you hunt for trophies? Do you care about platinums?
I see. It makes me get all the warm and fuzzy feeling of completing the game and 100%ing it. I think that helps in some aspects. Though a lot of the games that I play, I mean, I rarely 100% it because it's just like FIFA. Like there's like a million things that you would have to do in order to 100% it. I like collecting trophies. Like I like knowing what the trophies are, but I don't like. I would say out of the three of us, I'm very clearly the casual gamer out of the three of us. So, but like when it pops up and says like, "Hey, you earned a trophy," I'm like, "Yeah, that's pretty cool." Like I'll take it.
especially in sports games, it's like, because you have to be like really on top of like, oh, one of the trophies is like score, like if you're playing Madden, for example, score a touchdown with a created character.
Right.
That's never gonna happen. You know.
Yeah. So, unless you take the time to like set it up to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I hear you. So that's the store updates and trophy changes. One more piece of news here before we get into our discussion piece for the episode. Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, big boss man from the Xbox division for Microsoft. He had an interview with Kotaku recently talking about basically the acquisition of Bethesda and kind of what that means going forward. And so he was asked, do they need to release any Bethesda games on PS5 in order to make the $7.5 billion deal worth it? And Spencer said very quickly, yes. Or no. Wait. Oh, I read it incorrectly. I apologize.
Okay.
They asked, is it possible to recoup the money if they don't release it on PS5? Phil Spencer said yes. Sorry. The quote goes on to say, I don't want to be flip about that. This deal was not done to take games away from another player base like that. Nowhere in the documentation that we put together was, how do we keep other players from playing these games? We want more people to be able to play games, not fewer people to be able to go play games. But I'll also say this about the model, and I'm just answering the question that you directly had. When I think about where people are going to be playing and the number of devices that we had, and we have xCloud and PC and Game Pass and our console base, I don't have to go ship those games on any other platform other than the platforms that we support in order to kind of make the deal work for us, whatever that means. So that's the full quote from Phil Spencer. I both love and hate Phil Spencer. The reason I love him is because he completely brought Xbox back from the dead. Whenever Xbox One first launched, they got rid of I can't even remember who it was when during the 360 time, but he dropped the ball real hard. They fired him, hired Phil Spencer, and he kind of brought them back from the dead. One of the reasons I don't like Phil Spencer is he has this very, very political, very vague way of talking where he kind of says nothing with a whole lot, right? So in my opinion, this paragraph almost said nothing. What they were trying to get was, are you going to release Bethesda games on PS5? And he didn't answer that question, which is fine. I mean, they own Bethesda. They don't have to answer that question.
He basically answered it in the business sense of, we don't have to. That's what he said. We don't have to. But he's not specifying whether they will or they won't. Because they know that there is going to be a large audience of PlayStation people that especially enjoy playing Fallout. Because Fallout has a very big audience. And PlayStation people, are part of that audience.
Right.
So it kind of is like, well, we're not saying yes, but we're also not saying no. So they're basically trying to keep you guessing on whether their next game is available and whether they actually do release on both.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's what, like, especially guys like him who are like at the the head of the process are gonna keep you guessing instead of giving you a straightforward answer.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand that. I mean, he sounds like a CEO. He sounds like a politician. He sounds like the boss. Which
Yep.
I mean, for better or worse, that's kind of just how Phil Spencer is. He's very, very good at his job. For better or worse, he's very good at his job. Tanner, what do you think of this? I mean, do you think that they need to be putting these games on PS5? Like, do you think that? I mean, do you think that this Bethesda deal was actually in order to only put them on Xbox, even though Phil Spencer is saying here that was not the intention?
I guess I'm a little bit confused by the entire subject matter. So is he saying that they are going to be putting them on both, or is he saying that they're going to be only made for Xbox? I guess I'm a little bit confused.
The question was, can they recoup their money if they don't put it on PS5? And he had said yes.
Okay.
And then the rest of the paragraph was basically him saying like, "Oh, we could, but we don't have to."
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
basically saying they have to.
I think it's a bit risky considering that Bethesda's always had a very, very good relationship with Sony and has made games for them for so long. You're kind of cutting your nose to spite your face if you're going to make a kind of a statement like that. I mean, there's what is the harm in trying to make it for both consoles, or at least being open to that idea? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what he's trying to say, but that's kind of the way it sounds. Just to the layman like myself, is that okay? So you're cool with not applying it to both consoles if it comes down to that. Whereas
right.
if I'm a PlayStation guy, if I heard that about a game that was supposed to come out for both consoles but only came out for one, that would really kind of hack me off, to be quite honest. Oh, well, Discord died. One moment, guys.
It was coming. Oh, look at that. Okay.
Shut down.
Well, you guys can hear Steven and Mike, but you can't see them. Now you can, hopefully. Let me try this again.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey.
Discord decided to crash, you guys. So you're seeing this as I am. Mike and Steven have become two dancing square boxes.
Oh, we can see and hear you.
Close the video and
yeah, I can't see you guys yet. It's still loading. So spare me just a brief moment. Mike has returned. I'm waiting on Steven.
Okay.
Steven's almost there. This is great. This is great content for YouTube, you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this. This is fantastic. Let's see here. 1 second. Let me try and help get Steven up. And just like that, Steven is back.
He is.
Hello.
Wow, look at that. That's amazing. All right, so
we're having a hoot of a time with this tech right now.
Yeah. To be perfectly transparent with you, the viewer or listener, my computer is it's not built for streaming. I'm trying to fix that. So we're working on it. It's a work in progress, but I have a plan. I have a plan. So
good.
There's always a plan.
There's always a plan, Mike. So we were talking about Bethesda and how they're trying to rip people off, allegedly. No,
no, I mean that's pretty much it. Like I said, it's a Phil Spencer comment.
Mm-hmm.
It's also because the PC gaming community is increasing, and they're as large as that has become now. It's like, if you guys want to play it on PC and also play it on Xbox, why should we bother, porting on PlayStation?
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, that's going to outrage an audience. But businessmen don't care about that.
Yeah, I mean, Right, for sure. And I mean, if they end up not releasing, Fallout 5 and Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation, I can't say I'd be, that surprised, honestly. And for me, I would just play it on PC. It's really not that big of an issue for me, but it is a big issue for a lot of people. So it would cause a lot of outrage.
Well, and especially with like the increase recently of like crossplay being a thing, and people actually like enjoying that, and the fact that like PlayStation people and Xbox people can play with each other now, in the same game, and so it's if it doesn't happen, obviously it's going to hurt an audience, but they won't care because the money is going to be fine.
Yep, money's always there.
Yep.
I hear you.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, but before we wrap up, I believe we have our big discussion piece of the week here, which Stephen, I believe you were going to introduce that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of a light news week, so we figured we would give you guys something a little bit different, have a nice discussion piece here. So, the topic that we're talking about today is favorite games growing up. So these are 3 games. We're each going to pick 3 of our favorite games growing up, and they're games that either we played a lot of or kind of formed our opinions of games and kind of formed the types of games that we like going forward. So yeah, just kind of give you guys a peek into our taste and kind of what brought us into the world of gaming, so to speak. So let's start with eeny meeny miny mo. Tanner, go ahead, buddy.
Oh, cool. So are we doing just one at a time, or how do you want to do this?
Let's do the 3 and then just kind of tell us why you picked those 3.
Okay. So the first game that came to mind actually was Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII when it first came out for PlayStation, and later on I got it for PlayStation 2 because it was crossover. I first saw Final Fantasy VII actually being played by my cousin at my grandmother's house. That's my first introduction, and it really kind of blew my mind because it kind of opened my eyes into like a whole different side of gaming that I didn't think was possible. Right? It brought a whole new kind of I guess it was very revolutionary to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons at the time. But just not in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine that there was a video game that was ever like that. So the characters were very detailed. The graphics for the time were very, very good. And yeah, it was just kind of a mind-blowing game as a young kid seeing that game being played.
I think that's a game that would find itself on a lot of people's list. So
I would imagine so. It just depends on who you're talking to. Next on my list, I actually had Super Smash Brothers actually, because it was kind of one of those fun party kind of games, and it was kind of again I remember the old commercial for Super Smash Brothers where it was like all the characters in a field and they were kind of like all skipping and holding hands, and then they started just beating the crap out of each other. It's a really beautiful commercial. But then like you get it and like, well, you've got Mario and you've got Yoshi and you've got Donkey Kong and who's this guy named Captain Falcon that I've never heard of, but you also got Star Fox and you've got Link, and they're all in one game together battling each other. Yeah, like that's crazy good game. I remember a lot of days and nights spending with like friends playing that game constantly, and like seeing who was the absolute best at Super Smash. That was a big trophy in your repertoire of hey, I'm the best out of my friends at Super Smash.
Right.
So that one had to be on my list. And I guess I could talk about Halo as well, but I've decided actually to go with maybe a forerunner to Halo, and a game that maybe a lot of people hailed at one time as the best first-person shooter ever, and I'm going to go with 007 GoldenEye.
Nice.
Still one of the best first-person shooters ever made. It's obviously been reformulated and redone by pretty much every other first-person shooter to come out after it. It's take something from GoldenEye has been taken to every first-person shooter game that's out there on the market or that's ever been made since.
100%.
So GoldenEye had to make my list as well.
Hey, that's a good list of games right there. It's a good list of games. Definitely a lot of games that have a lot of obviously a lot of history behind them as well. So yeah, really good list.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Mike, what you got for us, man?
All right. Well, growing up, I was privileged to have a grandfather who liked playing video games.
Oh wow.
So whenever I would see my grandfather on my dad's side, he would always, give me, Game Informer magazines and give me, demos for PlayStation and stuff. And he was always mostly a Nintendo guy.
Okay.
And because of him, for the most part, got me into my favorite game probably of all time, which is Super Mario World. Super Mario World for the SNES is easily, probably, in my opinion, the best platformer ever made. It's the most fun I've ever had with a Mario game. It's the most time I've ever spent on a Mario game. I've played it so many times that I remember playing it as a kid and not knowing what I was doing, but still having fun. And then playing it again when I was 15 and doing everything and enjoying every moment of it. Because it's just one of those platformers that, to me, it's the best game ever made. To me, I can never not enjoy that game. It was, for its time on an SNES, to have all of that, all these different worlds and all these different secrets that you probably wouldn't know how to get when you were playing it when I was playing it, which was when I was like 5, because that's how old the SNES, like, that game, easily one of my favorite game ever.
It's a classic, man, for sure.
It's hands down the best Mario game, in my opinion. Then sticking with Nintendo, and something that I still play to this day because they're still releasing them, is Pokemon.
Nice. Yes.
Pokemon, I remember it from seeing it for the first time. I had cousins who were into it. The anime, I mean, not so much the anime now, but like just continuing to play the games. And there was all different versions of those games, but the originals, like the original red and blue versions, and then the yellow version, which everybody wanted because it was kind of loosely close to the anime. But just loving those originals, and then keep going from there and playing like Gold and Silver, and Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald. And I
still think Emerald is the best Pokemon.
Emerald is a hell of a game, and the Legendary is crazy too. But like just remembering playing those originals and like not knowing like what this would become and how these games would evolve, and like to this day, they re-release these games on the Switch so you can play them now, and they're still fun, even though I feel like the evolution of Pokemon as a whole has obviously changed a lot, but you could still go back to those originals and have just as much fun, even though you know everything. Somebody like me who's played all of them for the most part knows everything that you have to do, but it's just so fun to play. That was my introduction to RPGs, and that was my introduction to that form of like leveling up and battling and stuff like that, because I was never really I was talking about my grandfather loved Final Fantasy. he was the one who gave me there was a thing for the Super Nintendo where you could play Game Boy games on it on the television.
That's right, yeah.
And he gave me one of those, and that was like my first introduction to like playing Pokemon on a TV. Like that was crazy to me.
Yeah.
Especially
man, I love that pick of Pokemon. Like I'm jealous and a little surprised at myself that I didn't have Pokemon on my list because I 100% agree.
Yeah, it's a great pick for sure.
My third pick, and again, this might surprise people because I'm such a PlayStation person, but I'm sticking with Nintendo again. WWF No Mercy.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great game.
What a game. Like, it's one of those games that like you go back and you play it and like this is from like 1999, but it's just so much fun that like, and like the evolution of it, because like it got to a point where people are playing it on emulators and you know, modding it, and it still has an audience. And like I would love like a newer version of that game, just with like the same concept. Like, because it holds up. It's so much fun. It's one of those games that just never gets old. It's like the best. All these lists that you hear about like wrestling games, like the best wrestling games, it's always at the top. It's always like the top 3, even, you know, comparing it to like some of these newer games that people, you know, don't even really like for the most part, because it's not this game.
Right.
That was the first time that the roster in general was like super large, like, because most times with wrestling games at that point, up to that point, you know, it was like No Mercy, WCW Revenge, NWO Revenge. Those games introduced the large roster to the game. Because all these other wrestling games, you were lucky to get 10 people.
Right.
Like, I remember on the same system, on N64, WWF Warzone, literally only 12 people. And then
like,
you get
thanks.
And then you get this game, and it's like, oh my god, this is so much fun. I was always glued to the TV playing that game. The story mode was super expansive, and it was mostly based on like storylines from like 1999, 2000 wrestling. It was so much fun. Love that game.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, there is a reason that game is always either number 1 or number 2 on like best wrestling games of all time. Still jealous about that Pokemon pick.
Yeah, and I just adding to the No Mercy, like I've played some of the mods, like because I've played it on like emulators with mods and stuff, and like I don't know how these people do these things, like create these mods and like make all these current rosters on No Mercy with like,
you got me, yeah.
with newer rosters and newer moves and everything. But like I've done that before on an emulator, like played them, and it's just as fun.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
See, and that's one of the good things about the PC community too, is the modding community. Like it can breathe life into like older games that are still really, really good, but maybe they don't hold up like with the roster or graphically or something.
Well, yeah, and even like certain other games, like games that like, what was it, like Dark Souls? They had like a Randy Savage dragon or something.
Yep. You can also fight Thomas the Train Engine in Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. So like the modding community has its audience, and that stuff is cool, especially for that game, No Mercy.
Oh yeah, man, I still remember being a kid playing GTA San Andreas on PC, and modding in like Mustangs and like Ferraris and things like that. I thought it was like the coolest thing that I've ever seen.
Well, people are still modding GTA 5 and putting like crazy stuff in there.
Like, you could turn into Iron Man now.
Yeah, I've seen superheroes, I've seen wrestlers, I've seen Teletubbies, whatever floats your boat. You can mod in, whatever you can mod into GTA, and people love that stuff.
Steven, what about yourself? What are some of your favorite games what you played growing up?
Yeah, so I played Played a lot of games, man. I've tried a lot of different games, but these are the three that like whenever Mike brought up this topic, I instantly thought of these three games. These are some of my favorite games of all time. Some games that I've probably played the most of out of my entire life. So in no particular order, the first one is Bully. So Bully is kind of like a cult classic game. It was popular for the most part, but definitely not as popular as Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto series for sure. But I got Bully kind of as like a compromise with my parents because I wanted Grand Theft Auto, and they were like, oh no, you're way too young for that, no way. And so the compromise was that I got Bully, and if our listeners aren't familiar with Bully, Bully is literally Grand Theft Auto in a schoolyard, like in a private school setting, basically.
It's a hell of a game. I played it as well. I'm still waiting for that sequel.
Oh, dude, I know. It's been rumored for years and years that they're making a Bully 2, but I mean, they're milking Grand Theft Auto 5 for all it's freaking worth, so I don't know if we'll ever see that game.
Yeah,
but
and now Red Dead, same thing.
Right. But yeah, man, Bully at the time was just one of the most fun games that I've ever played. It's funny all the way through. It has a fantastic cast of characters. You can steal bikes and then shoot someone with a spud cannon and throw a rubber band ball down a hallway and watch it knock out like 15 people. Throw a banana peel behind you and watch the prefect slip and fall while he's chasing you. I mean, grab a skateboard and grind down a rail. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do. There's dodgeball. There's like music classes, art classes.
Yeah, that was the first time that I remember like there was like an objective to like play like an instrument in a video game.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was so weird, but like and just like the way they made it like was pretty like similar to like Clicks and like these teen movies basically, because you had all these cliques and you played as the outcast who wasn't friends with any of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was a fun game.
It is so much fun, and they did remaster it on PS3 and 360, and I played it again. I actually played it again this year, and yeah, I mean, graphically it doesn't look great, but from a gameplay standpoint, it 100% holds up. It's a really, really great game, so I highly recommend y'all check that out if you haven't played Bully.
Definitely.
My next game on here is from the Jak and Daxter series, specifically Jak 3. Jak and Daxter is one of my favorite game series of all time. The first Jak, Legacy of the Precursor, was actually one of the first games I had ever played. And I don't know, man. It's something about the characters, something about the world that they build, and the gameplay systems that you have. It's just, there's really... I mean, I stopped short of saying there's nothing like it, because certainly there's things like it. It is that like buddy platformer, like like Banjo-Kazooie, Ratchet and Clank, Yooka-Laylee. I mean, like all these different ones. But it did its own thing. I mean, it had the light and dark eco powers, and the story was really good. The characters were really good. Also, Jak 3 had a lot of the combat racing. There was that big desert where you could like upgrade your cars and do like fights out in the desert. So that, I mean, Jak 3 is one of those games I've probably restarted and played all the way through like 40 times. Like I just absolutely love that game. And fingers crossed that Naughty Dog makes a fourth one, but I highly doubt it. Honestly.
I'm sure that they will. I mean, there's been wasn't there like, oh well, they're doing the remasters for the the PS4 crossover stuff, like the PS Plus package or whatever. I think one of them was in there.
Right. They have Jak X Combat Racing on there.
Oh, okay.
Which is a good game for sure, but doesn't hold a candle to Jak 3 in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think with those, like, because like you said, like compared to like those others like Ratchet and Clank and Banjo-Kazooie, which was a personal favorite of mine, Yooka-Laylee, which was a redheaded stepchild of that and not as good.
Yeah, also came out like much later.
but Jack and Daxter was definitely more character oriented, and had a lot more going on compared to those other games.
Right. And I think that's what made me latch onto it so much is that like it is a platformer through and through. And honestly, if you really take a look at the gameplay of the first one, it's not doing anything really revolutionary. It's a very straightforward game. But I think what kept me in that world is the characters and the world building and the things like that they do that are very different than any of the other platformers. Sorry, I just hit the mic there. And for my last game, this is a personal favorite of mine. I've played probably hundreds and thousands of hours of this game, and it's Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. Now, I love Tony Hawk games personally. I haven't had a chance to play the remastered ones, but I've played every single one all the way through. I love every single one of them. There's something really like almost therapeutic about them just because it's a very simple system, makes you feel like a freaking badass all the time. The soundtrack is really great. The gameplay is super consistent along all of the different titles. I mean, obviously you have all your favorite pro skaters and everything like that. I was a wannabe skater when I was a kid, so I like idolized a lot of the people that were in these games, so that kept me coming back as well. And then again, as you can probably tell, I'm really into like a very story heavy, very character driven games. And Tony Hawk's American Wasteland was almost, I mean, you had Underground to a certain extent, but American Wasteland was really the first Tony Hawk game where it was really all about the story and all about the characters. And I think that's why to this day, it's still my favorite of the series.
Yeah, I remember playing those original two on the first PlayStation. And I still have to get those remasters as well. But I remember loving playing those, and like that also like spiked my interest in like the X games and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I was always a Tony Hawk fan and always like a Andy Mack fan, and like Rocket Power was big, so like that was like like that was the connection for me, like in loving like those skateboarding games. And but yeah, you mentioned Underground. Underground was the one that had Jackass.
Yeah.
And that was the one that I played more than anything.
Right.
I don't know why. And it also had like one of the weirdest soundtracks in the world.
Yeah.
But it was so cool. Like I'm playing the game and then like Johnny Cash comes on. Like,
yeah, I think that was Tony Hawk's Underground 2, because at one point I think part of it's like in New Orleans or something like that. I think you kind of tour the world. But yeah,
it's all coming back now.
Tony Hawk's is an interesting shout because I feel like Tony Hawk is one of those really iconic '90s kind of guys, one of those pop culture icons. Because he made everybody want to be a skater, right?
Yeah.
And that game is a huge catalyst for that feeling, that sentiment. So yeah, no, that's a really good shout too, man.
And there was those other games that like kind of like tried to play off of that, like like Dave Mirra and Matt Hoffman and
yep.
The BMX ones, and like and I remember playing those too, and obviously they didn't get as big because BMX was nowhere near as big as skateboarding ever.
Right.
I mean,
it was a great game though. Matt Hoffman BMX. It was a great game.
Matt Hoffman was my favorite of the two. I remember there was arguments about Dave Mirra and Matt Hoffman, like which one was better, but like I remember liking the controls of Matt Hoffman a lot more.
For sure.
But yeah, like those Tony Hawk games like was the catalyst for all of that, and people are still playing them. Those remasters are selling really well. I still got to get them. I still got to get them, and I should have got them immediately, and I didn't.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that I mean, obviously, I just want them to continue the series as a whole. But get Activision out of here. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was like a hot dumpster fire. It was such a garbage game. But I would love for them to continue the series. But even if they just continue remastering all of them, and if I can play a modern PS5 version of Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, I can die happy. Like I can die happy. That's all I need in this life, you know.
I always thought it was funny about the underground one with Jackass, where you had like Steve-O was riding a mechanical bull.
Yeah.
That was
always loved riding around as Sasquatch.
yeah, that was fun.
Well, gentlemen,
but there you have it.
Yep.
Yes, there you have. I think these are 3 very, very good lists, and we definitely recommend, if you have the resources to check out these games, definitely please do so, because I think all 9 of these games are very valid in terms of being great games that stand up even to this day.
Yeah, and thankfully, pretty much all the games that we've listed here are still fairly popular to this day. So you can find a lot of them on your Xbox One or your PS4. Also, a lot of them on PC. And if they're on older stuff, you can also find them through emulators on PC.
And Switch is releasing a lot of the old school Nintendo
Absolutely.
stuff. Like I said, Pokemon Red and Blue and Gold and Silver are all available there. Super Mario World is there too. But yeah, like and there's a lot of games that, that didn't make the list that later in life that were crazy good. And yeah, there will be more of these lists to come, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, Mike, where can people find more of your content? I'm sure everyone can see, if you look down below there, you see our Twitter handles, so you can definitely follow all 3 of us there. Mike, where can people find more of your content?
Well, yeah, like as it says on the screen, you can follow me at MikeJC821, and you can go to my website, MikeJC on Wrestling, for my jaded opinions on wrestling. And you can also go to sltdwrestling.com and get my review on AEW Dynamite every Wednesday. Usually goes up every Thursday morning. But also make sure to check out the link tree for this podcast, where you can follow the Twitter page and like the Facebook page as well. It just went up today. Oh, it's up there.
There it is.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And
Yep. Just and like I said, follow that Twitter handle right there. I couldn't think of the name. The Twitter handle at 3P Gamecast. If you are watching this on YouTube, at 3P Gamecast on Twitter, you can find the link tree there as well, ladies and gentlemen. Good stuff.
Yes, indeed.
Steven, what about yourself? Where can people find more of your content?
Yeah, so obviously you can catch me on here, 3P Gamecast. Also find me on Twitter at GrudySteven. I'm kind of active on it, honestly. I'm trying to get more into it, a little bit more than I am now, at least.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of. I also was on the last week of Radio Techers with Tanner, and that's a lot of fun if you like Premier League. So. Yeah. Also find me on Headlock Talk. We are taking a small hiatus right now, but we will be back. You can follow that at Headlock Talk on Twitter.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
There you go. Yeah, good stuff, man. Yeah, as Steven said, follow if you like pro wrestling and you also want to hear a lot of Mike's opinions, you can definitely check out at Headlock Talk on Twitter. It is currently on hiatus, but we are returning the first week of November, so that should be a lot of fun. Steven and I are kind of retooling the show, and you'll definitely be able to hear a lot of Mike's opinions as well. Mike writes into us quite often with his takes and opinions on pro wrestling, so you can check us out there.
Anybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, yes. Mike has a lot of influence on that show.
Yes.
I'm behind the scenes Headlock Talk.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes. So yeah, definitely check out that show. If you do enjoy English Premier League football, you can also tune into a show that I have with a good friend of mine, Mags, which is called Radio Techers. That's RadioTekkers. Radio Techers is a lot of fun, though I'm going to be recording it tomorrow, and I'll be awfully sad. But you can tune in and find out why. I'll have plenty to talk about.
Just one other thing. one other thing that I promoted on our last show that they are actually out now. I did 2 podcasts with Mags. I did his Mount Rushmore podcast, the Badlands podcast, and I also did the Why We Watch podcast. So check those out. They are both out. They came out literally like the day after the first episode of this show. So,
okay.
Very cool. Yeah, no, so I guess a special shout out is owed to Mags there too. So check out Mags' content at DEJ Kirkby on Twitter. But yeah, make sure to subscribe to 3P Gamecast here. Click that subscribe button right below there. You'll see it right there. Click the bell for all notifications, and if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. That would be great. If you didn't like the video, give us a thumbs down, and then put in the comments and tell us why.
But then put it back to the thumbs up.
Yeah, change it back up to thumbs up, because I'll respond to you and we'll figure out what your problem is. But otherwise, we are 3P Gamecast. I am, of course, the text gentleman Tanner Pruitt, here with Mike Charlip, as well as the one, the only Mr. Stephen Grudy. Y'all take care. Thank you again for tuning in and watching the show, and have yourselves a great rest of your day.
Bye. Later, guys.